Turn it on. Speed 1 moves very slowly. Speed 2 is also very slow. And speed 3 is slightly less slow. Spin the blade by hand, and it seems quite free. On and off. Still on speed 3. So it's a weak run capacitor, but the motor could use a bit of oil as well. I have now taken the blades off the F-126T and the F-302RS, and I noticed there's some oil or residue on the shaft. We have opened up the National F-302RS. Now I can access the motor run capacitor and other components. Red blob motor run capacitor is either Shizuki or Matsushita. Ha! Shizuki! These tend to fail more often than their Matsushita counterparts. First you'll have to remove the C-clip, take out the oil catcher, then unscrew the screws, then pull apart the two halves of the motor shell. That's how dirty the shaft is, but to clean it any deeper, I have to take apart the two halves of the motor. We now have the motor apart. You can see some oil has spilled out. It looks like dirty oil, so I will be soaking the oil wick. I will soak it in isopropyl alcohol to dissolve and flush out all the old oil. And I will do the same with the front bushing and oil wick. The rotor has been taken out, and the rotor positioners and thrust washers seem to be coated in some dirty oil. Look how dark it is. The oil is not supposed to be that dark. I'm using a pipette to deliver the 99% isopropyl alcohol into the oil wicks. And you can see they are thoroughly soaked, and I will let them soak. And I will also do that process for the rear bushing and oil wick. All this dirt is just from the front of the shaft and not even the rear. And this is from the rear. The two thrust washers on the rear. So I'm going to resume cleaning. Now I will be doing the same for the front of the shaft. The dirty oil there you can see. Clean it with a wet wipe and isopropyl alcohol. I ran out of contact cleaner. I got the Zippo lighter fluid out from the storeroom, so I'm using that to drench the rear bushing and oil wick instead. Look at how dirty it is. The center is so brown. Let it dissolve and then sit. The oil in this motor is so dirty. Not only did it make... No, the oil on the paper is just from the back bushing and oil wick. But in this cup, it's entirely from the front bushing and oil wick. Those are solid drops of oil. Dirty, dark oil. I just flushed it again. Now the liquid is clean and clear, which means flushing is complete. All of the old oil is now out of the bushing and oil wick. I also did the same thing with the rear bushing and oil wick. Kept on flushing it until the liquid coming out was clear. That's how I know I've completed the flushing out the old oil. Luckily the thermal fuse hasn't blown, otherwise it would be a really big pain to replace it. We are going to use 3-in-1 electric motor oil. You can also use Singer oil, sewing machine oil, but definitely not WD-40. Should be plenty. Soaked it all the way around and dropped it onto the bushing itself. And as the motor heats up during normal operation, the oil should automatically flow and be absorbed into the whole bushing. Also on the inner surface of the bushing itself. Shit. It's coming out of the hole. We're going to insert the rotor into the front of the motor, into here after oiling the front bushing. I've already oiled the shaft, so it'll have maximum lubrication upon contact with the front bushing. Okay, it is in. All the way in. Now I just need to lubricate the rear of the shaft, and then put in the rear half of the motor. The motor has been reassembled, however the shaft is still stiff because the bushings have not been aligned. So what I want to do is tap the shaft inwards, left, right, up and down with a hammer, and tap it gently to realign the bushings. These bushings are self-aligning, they can move around. They are not fixed in place, but they can still move because they are designed to be self-aligning. The bushings are now more free spinning. These are the new oil catchers that will go onto the end of the shaft inside the bushing, the outer bushing assembly, for catching any oil that escapes. Inner diameter is 8mm, perfect for the shaft thickness of this motor, which is 8mm, so we'll slip it on. Oil catcher is now installed. See it there, black ring. I was cleaning and lubricating the Louver motor. Put 2 drops of motor oil onto the shaft directly, because I don't think that is an oil port. I also cleaned off quite a bit of dust from here as well. Quite a few dust clumps that I've cleaned out. Hopefully the Louver won't make that squeaking sound anymore once I reassemble it and test it. The C-clip has been installed. Now the blade won't go too far in. Now we'll need to figure out where to put the replacement motor capacitor. We have a Panasonic 1.5 microfarad replacement unit, but it is too big to be installed in the original capacitor holder. We are going to measure the capacitance of the old and the new motor run capacitors, with the old one being rated for 1.5 microfarads and the new one also being rated for the same capacitance value. So I'll connect my multimeter in capacitance mode to the first capacitor, which is the one that came with the fan. These capacitors have no polarity, they are made to run with AC, so we can connect them either way. 215 nanofarads, which is 0.25 UF. That is way too low. And now we've got the new Panasonic motor run capacitor connected, 1.495 UF, which is super duper close to the rating. So we have confirmed that the original motor run capacitor is faulty. Motor capacitor has now been installed. Did a few adjustments so that this sits lower and doesn't interfere with the carrying handle. Before putting on the blade, let's test the operation of the motor to confirm that everything works. Speed 1, 2, 3, 1, 0. Okay, let's put on the blade. The blade is installed and it spins freely. Speed 1. It's wobbly. Speed 2. Speed 3. Speed 1. Speed 0. I just noticed that the retaining clip is not installed all the way, so I will have to fix that too. Although I can't guarantee the functionality of the plugger and spring and the ball holding plate because of wear and tear, and also because the plastic is broken and the spring is bent. And this side won't fit it because there is no groove on the right side to fit the ball holding plate. But you can see the groove where the ball holding plate is supposed to go, where this side doesn't have it. So I'll just put it back like this. The stand mounts have been reinstalled for both sides.